We're here with New York Mets third baseman David Wright. David, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Looking back at this last season, congratulations again on another All-Star season, another great season that you had personally. Looking back at the season, what were some of the ups and downs to the team and you personally?
Well, I mean, you play 162 games. You're going to have your ups and downs. But the good teams, they find a way to sneak out some wins, even though they're not playing well as a team. And I think that's something that we struggled at this year is when we got cold, we got ice cold, and we couldn't rebound from that. We hit a tailspin right after the AllStar break and never could correct that. And, instead of, squeaking out a win here, squeaking out a win there, we just, fell pretty quickly and couldn't recover.
And what was some of the things, you did, you guys started out really great at the beginning of the season. Then at the AllStar break, it kind of just took a hold. Is it a factor that you guys don't play together? You guys aren't around as a team together for, a few days. Does that, mess up the tempo of the clubhouse, do you think? Or
I'm not sure what it is. I know that, after the AllStar break, we had a big West Coast trip. So you're coming from the AllStar break out to the West Coast. You're playing some very good teams. We end up, playing, obviously the Dodgers, the Giants, who went on to, win the World Series. So we had a tough trip to begin with. We weren't playing very good baseball, and all that kind of compounded on one another and kind of snowballed into, really a disastrous road trip. And like I said before, we just couldn't recover from that.
Building off that, that All-Star game, how is it like the atmosphere of the All-Star game? Playing with people that you may only play with once in your whole entire career. How is it being there in the whole atmosphere with that?
I mean, the All-Star game, it's, been an incredible honor. I mean, it's, thanks to the fans. I mean, they vote the starters in, and unfortunately, 4 out of those 5 All-Star games I've had the opportunity to start. And, just an amazing feeling to know that, the fans have your back, to go out there and be an All-Star. Never would I thought, growing up that I'd have a chance to participate in an All-Star game, much less 5 of them. But, hopefully they keep coming because I enjoy playing them.
Awesome. Is it something that you strive for? There's been a lot of talk lately about, how you might be one of the best third basemen ever to play the game. Is there a lot of pressure? And, you won Silver Slugger, Gold Gloves, been to the All-Star game 5 out of the last 6 seasons you've played. Is there any added pressure to you to perform, up to the expectations that everyone has you as?
I put a lot of pressure on myself, and ultimately, to me, none of that matters because, the ultimate goal is to win a World Series, and I haven't, had the opportunity to do that. So as far as I'm concerned, you can't, get caught up in the awards or the accolades or what you've done because, that's when you start struggling. That's when you start, really buying into that individual hype rather than, what the ultimate goal is, and that's winning. So as far as I'm concerned, I've played 7 seasons, and they've been 7 failed seasons because, we're at home watching the World Series on the couch. So, hopefully we get there one day, and, hopefully I'm a big reason why we get there because that's ultimately the goal.
When, through the second half of the season, there's been a lot of talk about Manuel and how he's going to, if he's still going to have a job at the end of the season, and the Mets did let him go. Was there any talk that you as a team, was affected by that within the clubhouse about how if he was going to be there and if he was going to get fired, mid-season, how did that affect the way you guys played as a team?
Well, anytime you're talking about things that don't have to do with on the field is a distraction. I've been through this before. Unfortunately, I guess this is been my 4th manager in 7 years here, and in order to get that consistency where a manager and a coaching staff stick around for a while, you need to win, and we haven't done that. I had Art Howe at the very beginning of my career, and then moved on to Willie Randolph, and then Jerry Manuel, and now Terry Collins. And, hopefully we find the right formula that gets the job done and we can have some consistency. But, in order to have that, you have to win. But, I guess to answer the question, anytime you're talking about, the manager's job status or things like that don't have anything to do with on the field, then, it's a distraction. I think that, that can be a negative thing in the course of the season.
Since Jerry Manuel did come onto the staff as the manager in '08, how has your and his relationship been throughout the past couple of years?
Well, Jerry, he's a very philosophical type of manager. He's a little laid back. And that's his style. It's worked for him. Like I said, sometimes, some bad things happen to good people, and that's kind of what happened with Jerry. Is that he was a very good person. Unfortunately, we couldn't get the job done as players, and when that happens, sometimes the finger kind of gets pointed unfairly at certain people.
Now, this new manager, Terry Collins, hasn't been in the U.S. and coached in the U.S. since '01. Do you think his coaching style, or do you know much about him as a coach and a manager playing off the next season?
Well, if you can manage, if you can coach, you can manage and coach anywhere. He did a terrific job, when he was in the big leagues and managing and coaching. He went off to Japan, had some success there. And now he's back, and he really, I think one of the bonuses that we're going to get with him is not only is he fiery, he's passionate, he loves the game and loves what he does, but he knows our minor league system. He was our minor league coordinator last year. He knows some of these young up-and-coming prospects that we have, and I think that gives him an advantage going into this year because he knows what to expect at some of the younger guys, and he's, like I said, he's going to bring really a lot of passion, a lot of fire to this team, and I think that's something that we need.
Now, during the off season, you're here. I'm sure you're traveling all over the place. Does the news travel as fast while you're, not in the clubhouse as it would if you were there 24 hours a day, like throughout the season?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think that it's good that coming home, being in Virginia, it's good because you, in a sense, you kind of get away from it a little bit and you can kind of relax and take a deep breath and worry about getting ready for next year. Obviously New York, there's a lot of media. There's a lot of, rumors about this and rumors about that. And, sometimes it's good to get away, kind of clear your head and really get ready and do what you can do. Because a lot of times, you're in New York and you hear about a lot of things and there's a lot of things that you can't control. And, when you're here, you can control everything and you can worry about the things you control rather than the rumors and kind of the things that are floating around in New York.
Now, you've been in New York since your career started. How is it like playing in a big city, the Big Apple? Like, how has it been playing one of the biggest cities in America?
Well, I mean, it's been an honor. I mean, you're talking about baseball cities, and New York ranks right at the top of that list when it comes to sports cities and baseball cities in general. I mean, you get the biggest stage to go out there and perform on. And with that, there's expectations, but also you have to understand that when you win, there's no place better. You have that stage to go out there and perform on, but when you lose, you're going to be put under a microscope, and you have to understand that there's going to be some negative criticism when you don't get the job done. But that's something that me personally, that I'm willing to trade one for the other because in '06 when we went to the playoffs, there's nothing like the playoff atmosphere in New York, and that's something we want to get back to.
Now, during the off season, you're away from the ballpark. Do you play any spring ball, or not spring ball, but do you play any like fall ball or winter ball while you're home? Or
do I know? I guess we play so many games over the course of the year. I get so many at bats. Unfortunately, I've been relatively healthy throughout the course of my career, so I haven't needed those extra at bats or to go play in extra games during the winter. So really, I use the winter to get ready physically. To really take a break mentally and, try to build that solid foundation that it takes to play in, 162 games in a long season.
Yeah, it is a long season, 162 games, and you're playing almost every day throughout the months that you are playing baseball. 162 plus when you count spring training. And through that, is there any, do you ever get tired and it's like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore? Or is it a constant, oh, I wake up every day, I want to play baseball?
Well, of course, there's some days where physically you feel better than others. And although it's not really a contact sport per se, it beats you down physically. More importantly, it beats you down mentally because it's such a game of failure. You're talking about, as a hitter, you succeed 3 out of 10 times, and you're one of the best at what you do. So that's a failure rate of 70%, which really can test you mentally, because you have to learn to deal with some failure and bounce back. But there are some days where, physically, mentally, you feel beat up. But at the end of the day, when those lights turn on and you hear those fans go, it gets that adrenaline pumping, and you want to go on there and put a good show on for them and go out there and perform. So there's nothing else I'd rather do. But of course you're going to go through your ups and downs, and there's going to be some days where, just like if you're working a 9 to 5, you're going to have some bad days at the office, but fortunately you get a chance to redeem yourself the next day.
How's it been, like, since you got drafted back in 01, just the atmosphere, how it's been since, just growing up in the Mets organization, being a part of the Tides program while they were part of the Mets, just growing up in that, growing up playing baseball back at home in front of your home crowd. How was that?
I mean, that was one of the biggest baseball thrills that I've had in my career, is getting a chance for a month to play in Norfolk, play for the Tide, the team that, I grew up going out to games and rooting for, and, just looking around the stands and seeing a lot of familiar faces, whether it's family or friends or, teachers, I got such a warm reception and a tremendous turnout to support me when I played for the Tides. I think I got a big boost from that. And, I really had fun with it. I got a chance to go play in front of my friends and family, and that's not something that a lot of guys get a chance to do.